Badass business owners, welcome to another episode of the Local Small Business Coach Podcast, where each episode we work on getting you to $100,000 in take-home pay. So if you're all ready to boost your profits, increase your sales, improve your processes, and develop stronger teams so you can stop living job to job, then let's dive in. Hey, badass business owners, welcome back to the show. How's everybody doing today? It's another wonderful beginning of the week, unless of course you're listening to this out of order, and it could be any time in the world right now. But I appreciate you being here. I was thinking about what I wanted to cover on the show today, and I've actually had this title jotted down for a while, and I realized that, maybe now's the time to kind of cover it. And that is, what is the single biggest lesson I learned from my very first local small business? It had been this dream. For those of you that don't know the story, I'll just bear with me for a moment. Because I had worked in corporate America. I worked for big box retailers for 25 plus years. My last 22 of them had been with Home Depot, and I had all kinds of positions. I worked my way up, and I got to be all the positions within the store manager, district manager, director, regional HR, regional training director, all these different titles, district manager, you name it. And I learned a lot of lessons during those years. And when I became a local small business owner, I thought, oh, this is going to be great because I can take all of these business learnings that I've had and take them into being a local small business owner. Because, I always wanted to do my own thing. I was always independent anyways. That was one of the things I loved the most about being in the stores is because Depot let us, kind of run our own local small business within our communities. Yes, we had these guidelines and these things we had to do. But for the most part, we could tailor it to fit our local community. So I really liked that. And then even when I was in the divisional levels and when I was a district manager and even in the regional roles, we had stores that were in smaller locations, and we had to always figure out how can we tweak those stores to fit their local communities even more. And here I am in a smaller town. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, I got this because of these different things that I've been exposed to. So I knew for the most part going in that I needed to focus on being local, and I had bought a franchise. So I knew how to play within the rules because I had to, obviously when I ran my Depot stores, I had to play within Home Depot's rules, but I could still create my own thing. So going into owning my Baskin Robbins, I'm like, great, I can follow Baskin's rules of what they had, but I can really tie it into my community. And, so I thought, okay, great. I've got all kinds of stuff. I got tools. I'm armed. I'm ready to go. And for the most part, I will tell you that, all of those things I'm talking about came in very handy, and they helped me out. And you know what? They helped me run a very well-ran store, just exactly like I thought it would. But that's not necessarily where the big lesson came from. The big lesson came from something totally different, something that I wasn't expecting. You see, when I bought my local business, I wanted to retire and I wanted to do something. So I find this business that's locally. Actually, my nephew kept coming to me going, hey, he worked there. And he was like, oh, the guy's going to sell it. You should buy it. And I kept saying, no, I'm not going to buy it. You should buy it. No, I'm not going to buy it. Well, then, I just got to the point where I really wanted to do something different. So of course I look into it and I look at the store. So what's the first thing I do? I always pull up the numbers. I look at the numbers. I'm looking at the P&L. And this guy actually had a pretty good process that he did his books because he had a few other stores. And I'm looking at his books and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd be crazy to buy this thing. He had so many opportunities, so much money leaving on the table, and it wasn't so deep into the red. And I'm thinking, wow, if but I saw all the opportunities because of this business training that I had and, turning things around and everything else. I'm looking at the numbers and I'm looking at everything that's wrong. And I had visited the store, so I understood what was missing from a customer service, from a product standpoint, all these things that I'm always preaching to you guys about, that you got to do this, this, and this. So I saw all the opportunity and I knew that I could turn around this store, get it out of the red, and really run, make this the best store within the chain. Maybe not financially, but ran well. I could make it really pop in our community, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, and by the way, no, arrogance is not that biggest lesson, although that will play in a way. So, all right. So here I am. I take over the store and, and the whole reason I bought it is I kept seeing all the opportunity that was there, and I knew I could fix it. I knew that I could get it out of the red, and I knew, but probably more than anything, what you could say is I love the chase. I love fixing things. I love turning things around. So to me, when I'm looking at these books and I'm looking at the store's poor service and, the opportunity within the store to clean it up and just, it had a great location in the town and everything else. So all I kept seeing was, here's this thing to fix, to unbreak and to make great and to make better. And ultimately, that's what drove me to buy the store. I purchased the business, I bought the store because I knew what I could do with it. But here's the thing. When I purchased that business, well, all of that is true. While I knew it had tons of opportunity, while I knew I could get it into the red, while I knew I could turn it into one of the best ran stores in the company, guess what? I didn't keep asking the right questions. I stopped there. I was on that high of what I could do, and that's where I stopped. And this is where that lesson starts to play in when I look backwards, and especially now that I'm a few years behind it. I knew it then, but part of that ego thing I was talking about, my ego didn't want to let me see that because all I was doing is focusing on what I could do to this place. What I didn't do is say, hey, is this business going to hit my needs financially in the future? You see, I didn't need it to hit my needs financially right away for the first few years because of the way I had set myself up for my previous career, my previous life and everything else. The store could be crappy financially for a few years for me to be able to turn it around and to get it. But see, I never finished playing it out. I never said and thought, what is the long-term potential of the store? What would it be making in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Would that continue to fit my financial needs? I never finished that out. I was so focused on what I could do with this business to get it flipped around that I never continued the thought all the way down. I missed so many signs even at the time. One was that I could have looked at those books, figured out, did some percentages and calculated out going, okay, based off of what I know, based off of what I know about the product cost, the expenses, based off of all these things I know, where will this be? If everything goes right, where will this business be in 5 years, 10 years? Had I done that, I probably would have come up with a different number. The other thing I was missing, I bought this business late 2008. And anybody that's familiar of when the market crashed and everything else, 2008 is when all the warning signs were there that we were about to go crazy and we were about to tank. And sure enough, while I'm in scooper school, as I call it, ice cream school, to take over, that's when the stock market started crashing. So here it is. I'm missing, because I'm so focused on what I could do with this business, I was missing the fact that, the entire market was about to change. Now, part of me saw it and part of me said, it's never going to be that bad. I don't think anybody really knew it was going to be that bad. I thought we knew it would be bad, but it wasn't going to be that bad. So I also missed the market turn down. And then later, there was a couple other lessons that I learned on this, where even when I saw it was all happening and when I saw what was going on with the market, then another lesson that I learned is that I held on way too long. I didn't want to let go. Why? Because I was stubborn. I didn't want to fail. And the reality is I wasn't failing. It was just a bad business at the wrong time. Let me kind of step back for a second and let me tell you exactly how I phrase what that big lesson was. And then I'll come back into this. The biggest lesson I learned, the single biggest lesson that I learned running my first local small business is that no matter how well you run your business, you must be a profitable business in order to survive. No matter how well you run your business, you must be a profitable business in order to survive. This is one reason why I'm always talking about profit. This is one reason why I'm always talking about your take home. Part of it is because, we survive and live off of the money we put in our pocket. The quality of life that we have depends upon how much money we put in our pocket. So yes, all of that is true. But here's the thing. I had top level people. I had the head person from Baskin Robbins come into my store at one point because they wanted to know why I couldn't have this store be as profitable as it needed to be. Heck, I could barely get it to break even all the time. I was very consistent at break even. They came into the store to see if there was something I was doing wrong. Well, guess what? They came in and they couldn't find anything. If anything, I got all kinds of kudos and them wanting me to help figure out these small volume stores and how is it that I can run it a certain way and how can I keep my costs in line and how I could blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing. The part that they were missing is that no matter how well you run the business, you can't make something profitable if the numbers don't work. So often what happens is when we think something's not working, we think it's because it's not being ran right. There's something that we could be doing differently. Well, guess what? I couldn't tweak my payroll any lower. It's the single biggest cost that you have. I couldn't tweak my payroll any lower. I was already working almost all the hours. Unless I got rid of the few employees I had, oh yeah, I could make up some payroll that way, but that's not going to make it profitable because I still wasn't getting paid as part of this business. The second thing is I couldn't make the ice cream and the other costs get any lower. I only had about 2 weeks of inventory in my store at any time. I was really good. That's one lesson I was very good at from my Home Depot days. I knew how to turn my inventory. I knew exactly what I needed to be able to get through every 2 weeks. I had that down. And I didn't have to borrow from people. I didn't have to, once in a while I would split some packaging and stuff like that to keep the hard goods stuff together. But you know what? I was really good at the inventory within my building. You know what the other thing I couldn't control? I really couldn't control the cost of the electricity in my town. That was a huge thing. When you got 7 refrigerators and freezers going on, trust me, you're pulling a lot of electricity. I couldn't control that. It's not like you can turn a freezer off overnight. It's not like the lights that you can turn off. Those things run 24/7. One way you can help that is to stay on top of your equipment maintenance. So your equipment is running properly. Guess what? I did that. I did not let my equipment slide with its needs. I stayed on top of its maintenance and stuff. You know, I couldn't control how much the building, the lease and stuff was. I renegotiated that thing and I got a lower, but you know what? I had a location that was just high in our town. It was high. I couldn't get that down. And what was funny was here, this franchise kept saying, well, you need to move. And I'm like, well, back up for a minute. To move, that costs money. So in order for me to move, I'm already at you can see me from the busiest intersection in the entire town. You can see my business. You can see the sign. It wasn't my location that was the problem. The only thing my location was a problem for was how much my rent was. But if I went anywhere else, I wasn't going to have the visibility that I would have anywhere else. And 2, besides that, let's just say it would make a difference and I could pick it up for a lot less rent. Well, what they were forgetting is there was moving costs. There was build out costs. They were willing to put me $100,000 in debt to move when I couldn't even get the darn thing to break even. What? I'm not that stupid. I mean, I might be dumb and I might have made some dumb decisions, but I wasn't that dumb. Mathematically, I knew that was the wrong decision to make. Changing locations was only going to get me in debt. And at this point, for the most part, other than a couple little things, I was being a debt-free business. There was no way in heck I was signing up for all of that debt. But once again, I still was faced with the same problem that no matter how well I kept running this business, I was never going to make it a profitable business. And when I say profitable, yes, I could get it to make a couple $1,000s. I might even get it to $10,000, $20,000, but that was never going to fit my needs. And you know, the way the business model worked is I had to go out and have multiple franchises. I had to own multiple stores. And then if I was a great supervisor over these 3, 4, 5 stores, then I might be able to get up to $60,000, $75,000. Well, that's never been my goal. I'm a 6-figure person. I preach to you guys that you should be a 6-figure person. Well, guess what? I preach to myself I need to be a 6-figure person. And this business model, no matter how well I ran it, was never going to be a 6-figure business. Take that back. It would be, but it was going to have to grow in a way that I was not wanting to or willing to. There was no way I was going to go into all of this debt, own all of these multiple stores to get to that 6-figure. Now, could I have waited it out? Could that business eventually get to 6 figures as my town grew and got bigger? Probably. But that was not my plan. That wasn't my business to run at that time because I wasn't going to wait out 10 years, 10, 15 years for the town to grow big enough for me to be able to do that. And like I said, I already held on too long. That was one of the problems that I had is I should have let it go. I was being stubborn. I didn't want to fail. I wasn't going to do that. And you know what? It was funny because the greatest thing I ever did is when I did leave and I started my second small business, I got to that 6 figures and, everything was great. The only difference is it's not necessarily my life's passion, but that's okay because now I can make 6 figures and I can start pursuing my passion, which is helping folks like yourself get to your 6 figures. So the reason that I'm sharing this The reason that I'm sharing my single biggest lesson is because I want you to look in the mirror at your business. I do believe that every business can get to 6 figures. But in order to do that, it's going to have to look different than what it looks like today. And I really need you to make sure that you're looking in the mirror saying, what is it going to take to get that profit? And are you willing to do what it takes to make that profit? For example, in my case, I wasn't willing to go further in debt. I did not want to go own multiple stores. That was never in my business plan. That's not what I wanted to do. That took away from what it is that I was looking for at that time. Were there other folks that owned multiple stores that at their 6 figures? Absolutely. So it wasn't from them. That company could provide a 6 figure. But in order for me to do it in my situation, that's not what I was willing to do. And I want you to look in the mirror at your business and ask yourself, are you running a business in its current form today that's going to get you to that 6 figure? That no matter how well you run it, no matter how well you do, does it have the ability to get there? Now, I'm going to challenge you. A lot of you are going to say no, but you probably can. And then there's going to be those of you that are in that same boat that I was, that no matter what, the math is never going to work and you can't do it. So I'm not telling you to leave your business. What I'm telling you is if you're running a business that you have been spending the last 3, 4, 5 years in, and you can barely break even and you cannot seem to get traction, I want you to step back and play with those numbers and play with some what ifs and ask yourself, if you got more sales and you continue to tweak your product costs and your expenses, how profitable could you get that business? I guess the biggest thing is just be realistic. Because if you're running a business that you've been in business for, let's just say you've been in business 4 years. All right. Let's just take myself back to my 4 years. And I want to take you to let's just say your business. Let's say you've been in business for 4 years. And in that 4 years, you've broken even all the time. Then I want you to peel back the next layer of your business. What's your customer service like? Would you say that you're giving a 9, 10 level of customer service? If so, keep moving on. If you're not, great. There's some money you're leaving on the table. The next thing I want you to do is ask yourself is, do you have a lot of money tied up in inventory? Or do you have a lot of unnecessary costs that you know you can peel out of there? If you're like, look, I've run this thing so down, so I've cut so deep, I'm fumes to keep everything going, then you know there's no more money to cut there, then great. You can continue to move on. But if there's money to be cut, guess what? You need to keep tweaking and fine-tuning your business. So just keep going through these different levels of your business. Is it clean? Do you have a great reputation in the community? Do people, are all the things positive and yet you still can't seem to grow that business? That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at, is that if you think and feel as if everything is going right and you've tweaked it and scaled it back so much, and when you look at the future of it, it just doesn't look like it's going to be able to be as profitable as you need it to be, then yes, that is something that you need to look at and ask yourself, should you move on to another business or should you change your current business model? I couldn't really change it. If it wasn't a basket, let's play with this for a minute, okay? Because I'm not asking you to walk away from your business, but you could also tweak your business model. Because I had a basket and I had a franchise, I could not change what I was doing. I was like, I couldn't wake up the next day and start making sandwiches. I couldn't start offering other items to go along with that. However, if I was an independent ice cream store, I absolutely could do that. If I wasn't tied to a franchise, I could go back and say, okay, I want to add these other products in. I want to think outside of the box. Maybe I want to take my product to places. And don't get me wrong, there's some things I could have done. I could have went to more city events and sold ice cream. I could have bought a little ice cream cart and gone out. I couldn't turn it into a food truck, but you kind of get what I'm saying is, I'm not saying walk away from your business. If you're a franchise, there's only so much you can do within the franchise. But is there a way that you can tweak your business model to find ways to create additional revenue and to create additional profits? That you should look at. If you've done everything you can and you know what, you pretty much own something, then maybe it's the way that you're doing the business that you're doing. I'm hoping this is making sense, and if I can just touch one or two of you guys out there, then it definitely makes me rambling on about this definitely worth it. And like I said, something was pulling me to have this conversation. And usually when I do this, it means it's a message that's meant for somebody out there to hear. Because like I said, first and foremost, your number one goal has to be to run your business as best as you can, to run it with the best people, to provide the best service, to provide the best product, to have, to have excellent numbers when it comes to your inventory, to your cost, to your product costs, to really test your business skills, to do that to the best of your ability and to run a great business. But here's the thing. If you're doing all of that and you're still struggling and you still can't make any money, in my case, I wasn't making any money. I'm talking about break even. Okay. I needed to let go of my business. Now, if you're turning around and you're making $20,000, $30,000, to me, that's more of what can you add on to be able to grow that business. So each business is a little bit different. And like I said, I'm here if you want to talk about your business. If you're facing the same thing I am about wondering, I should have made the decision at least a year earlier than what I did. But if you're in the similar situation and you know that, hey, you know what, Tammy, I hear what you're saying. I listen to your advice all the time. And you know what? I've got great service. I can't cut my costs anymore. I've got great reputation in the community. I get this, but I just can't make any money. Then you know what? Reach out to me. If that's your pain, what I was feeling that day, then reach out, Tammy@localsmallbusinesscoach.com. You know what? You can toss a question out to me. If you want some coaching, we can set up some coaching. I do coaching as well for those of you that have been listening for a while. But I guess the biggest thing and the reason that I wanted to have this is, sometimes we get so caught up in not wanting to fail and we get so caught up in, I'm going to make this business work, that we forget to step back and we forget this lesson of no matter how well you run your business, it must be profitable to survive. That is by far the biggest takeaway that I got from running my business is no matter how well you run it, it must be profitable to survive. And, and I want you to walk away with that mantra as well. And I want you to think about that when it comes to your business. Because don't get me wrong, like I said, 95% of you are in a great business. You just need to continue to fine tune, tweak, and you're going to get to that 6-figure business or whatever your number is. Maybe it's 200 or maybe it's 50. It doesn't really matter. And you can live comfortably and live great off of that. But I can tell you, none of us can survive off of a business that makes nothing at the end of the day. It's not that you're losing, but you're just not making anything. You can't survive off of that. Because if you do, that's a hobby. That's not a business. That's a hobby. And that's something you love to do and you don't care that it break even. Great. If you have one of those businesses and you're perfectly okay with that, fine. No worries, no harm, no foul. Just continue to move on. But if you need to survive off of your business and you've got that sucker being a well-oiled machine and it's running perfect and you're still not making money, you are in the same position I was where you need to make a tough call. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring this one to a close. Like I said, I just had this pull I was supposed to talk about this. So that means it's out there for a listener out there who is definitely in need of this. And if there's a couple of you guys out there that need it, I'm glad I can share my story and hopefully it's something you can get. But I will tell you, if you are in that situation, I want you to make sure you walk away with the second part of that lesson is you will survive. No matter how bad it is, you will survive and you will come back and you will have an even better business, whether it's that one or a different one, or you tweak the one you've got, you will survive and things will be fantastic. I'm living proof of that. Okay. So trust me, it's going to be okay. It's just sometimes we have to have that slap in the face to look at the situation and to realize that in order for our business to survive, it must be profitable. And that goes for all of you. In order for your business to survive long term, it must be profitable. I will never, ever give up on these podcasts, preaching and helping you guys be profitable to earn as much money as possible, because that is why we do it. We do it to help as many people as possible. We do it because we love what it is that we do. But at the end of the day, it must be profitable. Alrighty then. And with that, by the way, if you haven't already, if you're on Facebook and you want to be in our Facebook group that I started last week, it's called, just go into the search, put in Badass Local Small Business Owners. Got some neat people that have been joining in there. We haven't quite gotten the dialogue going yet, but my goal is that we're going to have this dialogue with each other. I pop in there and I'll answer questions and talk to folks. Once again, it's a Facebook group called Badass Local Small Business Owners. Come search it out and come join us. Oh, actually in the show notes, there should be a link as well I hope to grow that. It's going to take us a while to build it. So if you'd like to be one of the founding people in there, hop on in. I'm actually having conversations with some of the folks that are in there and learning about some really interesting businesses. All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Why are you still listening? Go make some money. Got to be profitable. Remember? Bye for now. Hey, badass local small business owner, before you go, if you would like to join our Facebook group, come on over. Go over to Facebook and in the search function, put in there badass local small business owner. It's going to pop up the Facebook page. We're just starting out, so be one of the founding members here in this Facebook group. It's going to be different than the other ones. We're not going to be blasting marketing materials and any of that junk. No, this is real life questions. We're going to help each other out. And yes, I'm going to be in that room as well, checking in on you guys and answering your questions. So come on, join our Facebook group, Badass Local Small Business Owners. Type it into the search function or look in the show notes and click there and it will take you there. Join us, won't you?